Alright, Shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAHSHI, YAHAWAHSHI, Ba'ashem, Rakat Kadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders that I learned the truth from, the men at GMS and the brethren with a like-minded doctrine. It's the brother of Bagalah while I'm here with another hopeful, edifying video to the elect body of YAHAWAH, Ba'ashem, YAHAWAHSHI. This video is basically going into the historical facts, or so-called. It's going to be about the historical facts about who built the pyramids, Salakia, of Egypt, which I'm going to entitle this video, Putting a Face on Who Built the Pyramids, or something along that line. So, they trying to disclaim what perceivably they know for years historically, that who really built the pyramids, but they saying through archaeological discoveries are gonna disprove what they thought, or who they thought built the pyramids. So I'm gonna play this video right I have here. Basically, we're gonna get into the facts according to the Bible, who really built these pyramids. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the video and bring some scriptures out.
Even with all the Egyptian skills and tools, building the pyramids was still an incredibly hard task, requiring millions of man-hours to complete. Legend has long suggested that the pyramids were built by armies of slaves. The legends are...
So I want to point that out. He said to build a pyramid, it took million. So like, let me wind it back.
Missing stones can still be seen on the cap of Khafre's pyramid. Even with all the Egyptian skills and tools, building the pyramids was still an incredibly hard task, requiring millions of man-hours to complete. Legend.
So it required millions of man-hours to complete to build these pyramids. So that's something I want to point out. It took millions of man-hours to build the pyramids.
Has long suggested that the pyramids were built by armies of slaves. The legends are wrong. Forensic archaeological discoveries.
So they said the legends are wrong. That it took slaves to build the pyramids, but they trying to say it was wrong.
Are now putting a face on the people who really built the pyramids. The building of the pyramids was an enormous construction project requiring incredible manpower resources. Ancient histories tell of 100,000 men laboring on the Great Pyramid for 20 years. Modern experts...
So those was hieroglyphs that they showed there, right?
Our resources.
So yeah, these
ancient histories.
These are hieroglyphs.
Tell of 100,000.
These are hieroglyphs. There you go. These are hieroglyphs that they on the pyramids of the slave labor that they depict of slaves building the pyramids. So now they trying to go against this fact of the hieroglyphs.
Laboring on the Great Pyramid for 20 years. Modern experts believe 25,000 workers is a more realistic estimate. The job was completed during Pharaoh Khufu's 23-year reign. The workers would have put in over 250 million man-hours. Ancient Egypt was a rich land, but for such a mammoth undertaking, the builders would have had to source materials from across the whole country. The vast granite blocks had to be floated 600 miles down the Nile from the quarries at Aswan. Keeping a pyramid build on track was a logistical nightmare that would test even a modern engineering firm. Engineer Craig Smith has overseen vast construction sites and has analyzed how a pyramid build might operate.
You don't have cell phones, you don't have pagers, you don't have laptop computers, you have millions of pieces of material that have to arrive at the right point in time.
Egyptian communications depended upon papyrus and foot messengers. Yet they kept track of thousands of workers and countless millions of pieces of raw material. A present-day pyramid builder would have all the benefits of modern technology available to them. Where the Egyptians probably relied on the stars to align the pyramids, we would use lasers. Where the Egyptians used simple ramps, we would use giant tower cranes to raise the blocks. Today, motorized vehicles would transport building materials to the site. All the Egyptians had was muscle power and slow-moving boats. Craig Smith has calculated the cost of building a Great Pyramid in today's money.
If you did it with limestone, it'd be about $4 billion. It would take about 4 years.
That's considerably less than the 23 years it's estimated it took to build the Great Pyramid. But we should not underestimate the scale of their achievement. The ancient Egyptian craftsmen would have had to place a block every 2 minutes, 270 blocks every single day for 23 years.
So he said they had the builders of the pyramid had to put a block down every 2 minutes. If that don't sound like slave labor, I don't know what is. So they had to put a block down for every 2 minutes for over 20 years. If that doesn't sound like slave labor, hey, what is? So that, like, you know, they basically, I'm gonna let the I just want to point that out too.
And on top of its sheer scale, the pyramid was built to last for all eternity.
We haven't built anything of that scale in recent times that probably has any likelihood of lasting 4,500 years.
The Great Pyramid alone was a triumph of human ingenuity. But amazingly, the Egyptians built another 17 major pyramids. This pyramid building epic spanned 5 centuries and was perhaps the greatest construction project of all time. These pyramids are known by the names of the pharaohs who commissioned them, but the identity of the actual people who built them has long remained a mystery until now.
So they said the identity of whoever built the pyramids are basically a mystery. But I'm gonna let it. I just want to point that out also, because these, you know, Esau Edom, he have a lot of theories out there. He trying to say there's another theory that they trying to say ancient aliens built the pyramids, like aliens from outer space, little green men, built the pyramids or gave the knowledge of building the pyramids. That's another theory that Esau Edom has out there. So I'm gonna just play this a little bit more. Cause I'm gonna get to the point. It's getting to the point.
It was thought that the pharaoh would never have forced his own people to toil for year after year constructing the pyramids. Instead, it was believed that they were built using slave labor, possibly the Israelites.
See, that's the facts, and that's the truth. He said it was believed that they used slave labor, and the slaves were the Hebrews or the Israelites. That's what they believed, which is correct. Because like they were saying, it took millions of man hours to do it, and they was putting down blocks. They put a block down every 2 minutes. So if that doesn't sound like slave labor, hey, like I said, man, like, hey, if that's not slavery, what is slavery? And basically they trying to say their own people, the Egyptians, built the pyramids, which they're gonna go on to explain, which is a lie.
Archaeologists have excavated the areas around the Giza pyramids. Their finds have radically changed the theories on who built the pyramids. Renowned Egyptologist Dr. YAHAWAH has discovered the tombs of the actual pyramid builders. Dr. Hawass was surprised at the elaborate nature of these tombs. They do not look like humble burial grounds for slaves.
If the people who built the pyramids were slaves, they will never be buried in the shadow of the pyramid. If they were slaves, they will never prepare their tombs for eternity like kings and queens.
Dr. Hawass's work is finally letting us see pyramid construction from the worker's perspective.
Before our discovery, you know a lot about kings and queens, but you know nothing about the people who really worked at the building the pyramid.
See, that's correct. You say you'll know about who basically in rulership. The history will basically talk about primarily the people in rulership, not the people that's enslaved. Is basically they're insignificant. So that's why that's what it was. You know, the slaves' lives to whoever's ruling them is not too important. So that's why there's no. I guess you never know, Esau. Even there probably is historical facts out there, but they trying to cover it up. But they try to that's believable, you know. If you're a slave, the slaves' lives wouldn't be too significant to record or anything like that. But when that in actuality, the hieroglyphs does record the slaves that was used and what they was doing on these in these pyramids. So it is recorded, and it's also known that the Hebrews were the slaves, the ones that built the pyramids. So I'm gonna let it play a little bit more. It's like it.
But who were the actual workers? The answer comes from the new science of forensic Egyptology. Egyptologist Rosalie David works with biologists and artists who reconstruct the lives of the men who built the pyramids. CAT scans and 3D imaging resurrects faces of the ancient Egyptians from mummified skulls. This is the reconstructed face of an Egyptian who lived thousands of years ago.
You do get a sense of the character of the person. They cease to be a wizened mummy or a dry skeleton. And there they are with...
So I want to stop it there. You see that face of the of this mummified or the skeleton that they put a face on it. If you check it out right, you know this. I discovered this, you know, through the spirit called YAHAWAHSHI. I'm gonna go up, scroll up here, right, and look at this picture here. This guy here is a Brazilian football legend, PL, if I'm pronouncing his name right. So we know that's in Brazil's in South America, and that's from this region is the people there is of the tribe of Asher. If I'm not mistaken, the tribe of Asher that's where the people of Brazil, that's what tribe they belong to. So if you look at this brother here, right, and you look at the face up there, because I'm seemingly, you know, we also, you know, according to appearance, the Egyptians look like the Israelites, because we was a melanated nation. All was a melanated nation. But if you look at this picture here, I mean, well, this skeleton with a face on it, and look down here and look at this brother here, they look similar. Look at the nose, look at the lips. You can tell the similarities, and they trying to say that it's the Egyptians. So if you go about comparisons, you know, because this brother here from Brazil, and that's a tribe of Asher. So they trying to say it's the Egyptians. The Egyptians built the pyramids now. So through archaeological, which they digging up skeletons and things like that. But look at this picture here, man. Because the Most High Yahweh, the Rakakadash, man, he had me to see this. You know, and I scroll down, and it was just there. So if you look at it, the lips, the nose, it looks like this brother here for real, literal, really. So that's Esau Edom, man. He's a liar, man, the father of it. He's the devil, which devil means deceiver. He's the father of lies, man. So yeah, I just want to point that out. And I also want to go back here to this point back. See, that looked just like that brother from Brazil, which is the tribe of Asher. So I want to take it back. So they saying through archaeological findings, skeletons that they built, skeletal remains that they dug up, the slaves, actual slaves were actual Egyptian, which is a lie. We're gonna prove that in the Bible also. But I want to bring it back to this point. It's the 25th. So I'm gonna bring it back. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it back to this point because they're gonna basically tell you about how the pyramids and how it was made.
In such a precise build, a large proportion of the internal stones were just roughly finished. The gaps between them were filled with rubble and gypsum mortar.
In between the blocks were stuffed lots of limestone chippings mixed with a huge dollops of mortar, and it's set just like modern concrete.
So what he said there was mortar was used around the concrete. That's evidence. I mean, around the stones, and it was basically similar to concrete. So what we gonna get an account of that? That's talked about in the scriptures, right? And we gonna go to the book of Exodus, the first chapter, and we going to the 8th verse, because this is when Joseph dwelled in Egypt. After Joseph's death, Salakia, his brothers and the Israelites and their family came into Egypt to dwell, and Joseph was a pharaoh. But there arose a pharaoh, which this is the verse 8 is going to get into, that didn't know Joseph. So the Hebrews, the Israelites, the 12 patriarchs and their families went into Egypt to dwell. So this is Exodus the first chapter, in the 8th verse, and it says, "Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of Israel, Salaki, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come now, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land." So that's what the Pharaoh that arose, that didn't know Joseph. That's what his plans was, and then the point was what there was a mighty nation. Verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. Verse 11 again, Salakia. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built of Pharaoh treasure cities, Pythro and Ramses. But verse 12, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. So that's what the Egyptians they had set up taskmasters. What is that? An overseer, a slave master. You know, they basically put them in slavery. You know, I think the history. I did a little history. Basically, I got to find the information, but I think they kind of, according to what I read, I don't know how true it is, but I'm just state it. They basically kind of tricked the Israelites into being slaves. It was like a debt. It was like they was helping them build something, and the Egyptians was building at one point, and then they said like gradually the Egyptians, um, how, some reason or some way they the Egyptians just gradually stopped ceased from the building of the temple, and it was only the Israelites, and then and somehow they enslaved the Israelites through some type of fraud. They basically they was trusting in Egypt and thinking that they gonna keep their word, and there was some type of contract that was going on or something of that sort. I forgot. It's some history I read. I got to go back and bring it and refresh over it, Salakia. But anyway, they said that's where the taskmasters come in. And what it says, but verse 12, but the more they afflict them, the more they multiply and grew, and they grieved, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel, which the Egyptians was grieved because of the Israelites grew mighty in number. And what it said in the video, there was millions of man hours to build the pyramids, and then they had to put a block down every 2 minutes. So, and they trying to say it wasn't hundreds of thousands of slaves. It was more or less 25,000. Was that doesn't according to the scripture that doesn't add up. The Israelite was already exceedingly great, and the more they afflicted them, the more they grew in number also. So that's proven that the Israelites, which they said they had they believed at one point that the Israelites did build the pyramids, but they said through these findings, archaeological findings, they don't think they trying to take that back, which I showed you in that picture. This brother here, right? He looked just like that skeletal where they put a face on that's the skeleton, Which I'm gonna play this a little bit more. Play this back again. I'm sorry.
Instead, it was believed that they were built using slave labor, possibly the Israelites.
Which I'm gonna stop it there because that's the truth. You just read it out of Salakia, the book of Exodus, the first chapter, man. Because the Israelites moved into Egypt, and they was exceedingly great, and the Egyptians set over them taskmasters to afflict them. And they're building. They built the Israelites built up great cities, man. So it tells you right there in the Bible that who built these cities, man. So I'm gonna end it off there, because we know Esau Edom is a liar, and he's the devil and the father of lies, man. So I'm gonna just end it off there. I hope the video was edifying. I want to say call Holayim La Yahawah Ba'Hashem Yahawashi Ba'Hashem Rakakadash Shalom. To the next time, Yahawah Rathazah, which means Lord willing, and Wah Abba Babo DTA soon.